Welcome to Faith at Home for Church Leaders.
This episode looks at the theme of resilience.
Resilience can be framed in several ways.
We want to explore what it means to have a resilient faith.
And how can we nurture this through practices and relationships at home?
As usual, we'll start by hearing what children and young people themselves think about resilience.
Resilience to me means to keep trying.
And getting back up when I've been knocked down.
Not letting your difficulties get in your way and fighting for what you want to achieve in life.
Resilience to me means bouncing back as quickly as possible.
Resilience is like being a rubber band. Stretchable and flexible when needed, quickly bouncing back to normal.
The main step in becoming resilient is learning to let go mentally. If you learn to let go mentally, it makes it easier to concentrate on the task that has been set.
Resilience means persevering and never giving up.
You may find something tough or someone hurts you, but you don't let that get you down.
Keep on going, always believe in yourself.
It's always interesting to hear what young people make of the attitudes that others around them might be encouraging them to adopt.
Resilience means different things to different people. And when we use this term in relation to faith, it's useful to explore this.
To help with this, we're going to ask Sanji to switch hats for a moment and not to be presenter, but to share some of her perspectives on resilience as a theologian and cognitive psychologist.
This week, as we explore this important concept of resilience, as a cognitive psychologist, a cognitive ecclesiologist, it's important to stress how easily we can misinterpret this idea of resilience. As a Cypher, Pathfinder and Sunday school leader of nearly 25 years, this is a favourite topic. I have spent years making costumes of the armour of God with my Sunday school group. And this is where we can misinterpret what resilience really means. This is where we can confuse what the battle is. This is where we can confuse what the armour of God means. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 10 to 18 reads, "Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armour of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of his dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Our ecclesiology, missiology and liturgy has long been invested in the language of warfare and empire building. I grew up singing hymns of marching for God, being soldiers for Christ, and it would be easy to appropriate these ideas to suggest that it is about building a church of privilege and control. If we misinterpret resilience, we may teach our flocks and our young people that resilience is about battling for power and authority, that it is about being a super race of a chosen people who are gifted in prosperity and authority over all of creation, to rule. Instead, our resilience is in the extraordinary gifts of the Spirit. As a cognitive psychologist, I find this exciting because all of the gifts of the Spirit are cognitive, whether it is faith, wisdom, knowledge, teaching, or healing. Our resilience is the best God imprint of our humanity. We are a people of God, multinational, multicultural, of all shades of genotype and phenotype that God sculpted and evolved us in. And our resilience is in the shared humanity, in our shared vulnerability, in our shared and salvific hope, in Christ alone.
Seeing resilience as connected to God's presence and strength with us hopefully helps avoid people taking on responsibility for managing situations and issues in their own strength.
Something else to help with this is to see resilience as an aspect of communal life.
So here's Phil sharing his perspective as the vicar of a church in Shropshire on what resilience means to their community.
So what helps to build resilience? Well, firstly, it's having people around you, whether it's picking up the phone to family, sitting in the back garden with friends, or mastering the joys of Zoom with colleagues. That sense of sharing life together, the joys and the burdens. Secondly, it's trying to find a rhythm of life and ministry that's sustainable, though I know easier said than done. Sabbath, simplicity, stillness, slowing. Things have been full on for these last 3 months and won't get better in a hurry, but resilience will only ever come from a rested soul. Then lastly, it's knowing that we're loved, really loved. A rhythm of prayer, however that might happen, the joy of worshipping together even if it is through a screen, and just being thankful each and every day. Though 2 meters might divide us, though social distancing might keep us apart, nothing can separate us from the love of God.
Some helpful insights on how households need to be a part of this wider resilient community.
So what are we encouraging parents and carers to do with children and young people at home this week?
Here's Victoria Beach from Godventure to talk about rhythm and ritual.
Hi, my name's Victoria. My family moved 5 times last year, and the year before that we spent 5 weeks living in a tent. So we've had some pretty major changes to have to deal with, and I really wanted not just to deal with it, but to actually thrive rather than just surviving. And one of the ways we do that is through our rituals and celebrations and feasts. We have things that we do every day, like getting together and reading the Bible, and we have things that we do every week, like our Shabbat meal, where we drink wine and break bread and light candles and welcome the presence of God in our home, and take a whole 24 hours to stop and pause and connect with each other and with God. And we celebrate biblical feasts like the Feast of Tabernacles, which we did after 10 weeks of living in a tent. The last day of the 7-day Festival of Tabernacles was the day that we moved out, and so that was a real rejoicing celebration and thanking God for his protection of us during that time. And I can definitely say that those things, doing the same things every week, every month, every year, have really helped us.
Check out all the different ways that we're encouraging parents and carers to engage with children and young people this week by going to the Faith at Home website and looking at the Parents tab.
That's all for this episode of Faith at Home for Church Leaders.
We'll leave a moment now for you to reflect on resilience personally and also for your community.
When I'm lonely, lost in a new place, having a party, and making lots of new friends, I'm holding on to your promises. I'm holding on to your promises. Making hard choices. You gotta go with the flow. Feeling sick and weary, or bursting with energy to go.